And I think that it's important to be willing to make personal sacrifices in order to confront these people, because otherwise their reign of terror continues unabated. In a way, to take that advice, to cut them out of your life, and try not to think about them again, try not to have any thought or consciousness or worry about them again. I think that is really sociopathic in its own way, because it's not compassionate for society as a whole. It's just very selfish, because I don't want to deal with this person, because I don't want to be the one in their path as their target, then I'll just get away from them and let them pick on other people. That's not compassionate. That's not empathetic. It's cold and it's cruel. And like I said, I understand that it's sort of a survival mechanism, but I really think that some things are more important than survival. So I was made aware doing research about the whole sociopathic phenomenon. I was made aware of this book, Political Ponerology, I would assume is how you say it, by Andrew M., and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name, but you can see it spelled right here. I've never read the book, but I would be very interested to read it. I certainly will acquire a copy of it and read it. But having read a pretty detailed review of it, it basically lays out the case that sociopaths over the course of many generations have more or less gotten together and consolidated their power. And it probably sounds like a very paranoid notion, but if you really look around at our world and how messed up it is, how our economic system works, how our politics work, it's the only sensible explanation for why things are the way that they are, because I believe in the fundamental decency of people, but unfortunately people are also lazy. They don't, and so they don't want to confront evil when they encounter it, and that's just it's a natural, I guess, human failing, but it is not in the interest of our survival as a species. So anyway, speaking of other research that I did, other things that I've seen and read, I've encountered the idea that basically Darwinism has been something that was seized upon by sociopaths as a justification for empowering themselves, that that they see themselves as superior to other people, and they see themselves as stronger than other people. They have a very inflated sense of ego, which I can definitely attest to from personal experience. And for that reason, like I said, that's what makes them so dangerous. And if we really are going to survive as a species and not destroy ourselves, we've got to confront these people. And it's going to be painful, and it's going to be difficult. There's no way around that. Because those people see compassion and empathy as a weakness, and they exploit it to their own ends. It is very difficult to battle against something like that, but if we want any kind of a world that's fit to live in for ourselves and for our children, it's something that we have to do. So basically the reason that I did this video is that I want to encourage other people to read as much as you can about the phenomenon of sociopathy. Start to look for signs of it in people that you know, and people in the media, people that are in power. Just be aware. Educate yourself, because ignorance and fear is not going to save you from these people. It is going to inevitably make you a victim, and you might end up being a victim anyway. You know, that's just a cold hard fact, which is why I'm assuming, you know, Ms. Stout recommends just running away from these people, because they are capable of anything, because they don't have a conscience, they don't have anything holding them back from whatever it is that they seek in terms of their own guilty conscience. But needs to be confronted. And I also wanted to, unfortunately, one of the things that I saw that was talking about this whole phenomenon basically was talking about Christianity as more or less a polar opposite to the sociopathic psychology. And I think that there is a lot of truth to that, because, I mean, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that requires empathy. That requires compassion. That requires putting yourself in someone else's shoes and asking yourself, gee, you know, how would they feel? So in that sense, yes, it is anti-Christian, but Christianity does not have any sort of a monopoly on those types of values, nor did those values originate with Christianity. So it's just an arrogant idea, I think, that, you know, you're either on the side of evil or, you know, you must be Christian. Me personally, or you're either on the side of evil or, well, that basically that Darwinism is responsible somehow for sociopathic, you know, rise in power and dominance in our society. I think that's just a simplistic sort of a view, because I think if you look at nature, yes, there is a lot of dog-eat-dog competition to it, in sense of, you know, the stronger surviving. If you want to consider the willingness to, well, if you want to consider not being impeded by a conscience, if you want to consider that a strength, and in some cases I'm sure it comes in very handy when you're trying to accomplish things, especially when it comes to intimidating other people and gaining material resources for yourself. I am sure that it's a characteristic that comes in handy, and I'm sure that that is why it has survived and developed even. But I think if you look at nature, that you'll also find that a lot of species survive, or individuals survive, because of cooperation. Just look at how much nurturing is required to raise an infant to, you know, the age of 4 years. I mean, infants are helpless. You have to do everything for them. They're completely vulnerable, and I don't think that a sociopathic mindset can really nurture that kind of life in any way, and that is why our world is falling apart. That is why we're killing ourselves with wars and pollution and, you know, genetically modified foods, not to make them healthier or better, but, in a lot of instances just to cut costs and make more money. I mean, it's disturbing, and anyone who would use Darwinism or the theory of evolution to justify by any means necessary, disregarding a conscience as being a strength, I think really ignores the reality that cooperation is a vital element to nature and the survival of a lot of species and individuals, and without it, you can't have a society. Like I said, you can't nurture an infant. And then too, from what my understanding of the history of Christianity is that you basically had a group of people who decided to live by Jesus' teachings of, really cooperating with one another and treating one another as they would treat themselves, and because of that they managed to survive famines and diseases that other groups didn't fare so well through. And that is how Christianity originally, in my understanding, like I said, gained more and more following until it was basically co-opted by the Roman government and turned into the Roman Catholic Church, and I won't even get into all that. Like I said, I don't have a lot of respect for Christianity as a dogmatic institution, but I do certainly have respect for fundamental principles, to try and help the poor and the sick, and basically to be in service of others and not just look out for yourself. So I hope that people will think about that. Anybody out there who thinks that the only way to survive is by stepping over somebody else, just pretend that's your child or your sister or your mother or your brother, and don't do it. And this is why, sorry, I'm not going to cry. I'm not. Okay, this is why I hate racism so much. Because it's not empathetic. It's not compassionate. It's just cold and heartless, and I know that firsthand from experiencing the way that my dad would talk about black people when I was growing up. Very sorry. It was very dehumanizing. And just wrong. It's just so wrong. And I think that it's so self-destructive to humanity, and anybody out there who thinks that the solution to a better world is for the races to be, kept separate by force, and for one race to dominate others, it's just sickness, and it's a sociopathic ideology. And the sociopath that I was involved with is a very racist individual. There are times that I feel, manipulated me by pretending that my ideas against racism actually influenced him or impacted him in some way. But ultimately, I think, I know still he's a very racist individual. I don't think that I really had that much influence or impact on him at all, fundamentally. And like I said, it was just a way to manipulate me emotionally. It worked very well. But anyway, don't be racist. Don't be a sociopath if you can possibly. You really can't help it if you are. But if you are, you know, I would hope that someone that knows you is watching this video and is now maybe keeping a closer eye on you and trying to eliminate some of the harm or limit some of the harm that you're doing out there in the world to others and to yourself. And Darwinism doesn't equal, well, I won't say it doesn't equal survival of the fittest, but the fittest doesn't equal the willingness to just step over someone and do whatever you have to do without any guilt or conscience to another in order to gain for yourself. I don't think that that is the fittest philosophy for mankind, and I think that our world is a very good example of why that philosophy isn't the fittest philosophy. So, thank you, and have a great day.